recording to the cloud, part three of the final guest week for R622. Week 15 is next week, and anybody who's got a final project that they want to share, by all means, they can share next week. And after that, we'll do an AMA, Ask Me Anything. So, whatever questions you want to ask me, personal, professional, off the cuff, science fiction, nonfiction, sports, I don't care, favorite books, just that will be next week. Advice about this field. Hopefully, some of the questions will be that way, but I'll make that the very last thing that we do next week. We got something more important here this week, and that is we have Dr. Ray Schroeder, who's come to talk to us about various articles that he's written for Inside Higher Education and about the future of education in general, about mastery learning, about agentic AI, and about 5 other topics that he's written on recently. He sent me the list of things. I already introduced Ray, but let me just go back to the Charles Wedemeyer Award I mentioned that he received. Charles Wedemeyer was basically like the father of distance learning in many ways, and his student, Michael Moore, is another founding father of distance learning, both from the University of Wisconsin, where I went to graduate school, and which held the Wisconsin Distance Teaching and Learning Conference every year for like 40 years almost. Like, yeah, it was 40. I think we hit the 40th anniversary in Minneapolis. We moved it to Minneapolis a year ago, 14 months ago, and now it no longer exists. But it was the longest running distance teaching and learning conference on the planet, and I didn't know it existed when I was a graduate student there. I discovered it in 1999 and presented at it that year and presented many years after that. And Ray probably set the record for the most times at that conference, maybe with 1 or 2 other people, like Michael Moore, who was at the first one. But Charles Wedemeyer, the award that he got, um, Charles Wedemeyer helped create the Open U in the UK, which led to many open universities around the world, which got to issues of access and equity, which Arpita asked about earlier, which Corinne talked about in her closing address for the last section. Charles Wedemeyer was the guy they called the crazy man, talking about satellite technology influencing learning back in the 1940s and 50s, talking about blended learning in the 1960s. And so he had a book called Learning at the Back Door, Reflections on Non-Traditional Learning Across the Lifespan, which is incredible in terms of its predictive powers to where we'd be today and what could be possible when we move away from iPad to iPad learning, eyeball to eyeball learning, earpan to earpan learning, to learning in any other way, shape, or form. He believed that learning, the cathedral of learning doesn't have to be a four-walled classroom. It could be located anywhere, like through our social media, through Wikipedia, through TED Talks, through TikTok, through everything. But he didn't, of course, he didn't talk about TikTok or YouTube videos or any of that, but he predicted all of that. And so for Ray, I'm sure he feels this way, and for myself, to both be honored with the Charles Wedemeyer Award is probably, I cried when I found out I was getting the award. I was in a building in a apartment complex in Bangkok, getting ready to do a keynote for Thailand Cyber University that day, and I was heading out of the country. But it was a real distinction, and Ray, I'm sure believes that too. He was an influence on, even though you don't necessarily know his name, he was an influence on all of us because he helped to redirect education to move us and push us forward in this field of open and distance and non-traditional forms of learning. Again, for $1, you could buy this book on Amazon, Reflections on Non-Traditional Learning Across the Lifespan. And I'll try and put it in the chat window. Um, I'm now blinking on that's the subtitle. Um, what is the title, main title, Ray?
I can't,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
but
just said it and now I can't remember. Anyways, um, highly, highly recommend. There are others in the field who are also key players, but Ray is a person who maybe for 10 or 15 years in a row, when I did a keynote talk I would write to Ray and I write to Peter Shea in New York and I say,
Uh,
what's the data in New York? What's the data in Illinois? What's the data nationally that you see in terms of online and blended learning? Because I'd like to include it in my keynote that I have in 3 days. I'm giving a keynote wherever around the world. And within an hour or two, each of them would be replying to me with not just the data, but with graphs that would go into my reports, that go into my speeches, with their insightful comments about what the data means so I can interpret it for the audience that's going to be there wherever I was going. So I want to thank Ray for his consistent help and not just helping me, but in such a pleasant way, not being bothered by me. I think it was Burks Oakley, his compadre there in Illinois, who's the first one. He says, I don't have the data, but Ray will have the data. And so I went to Ray. It was, probably back in 1997, 98, 99, all the way through about 2015. I was asking you all the time. So thank you, Ray. I will let you take over now. Maybe I've embarrassed you enough. I can keep embarrassing you if you want. But yeah, part three, R622 with Dr. Ray Schroeder, and he's going to take it away from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. And a couple of updates. The Distance Teaching and Learning Conference continues to be offered in a lesser way, but totally online, which is not necessarily lesser. It'll be in February this year. And who's Moore's protege? Is it Weir, Tom Weir, something like that,
Oh,
at the Journal of Communications Research? They're going to do the nominee this time. They'll come up with the Wiedemeyer
William Deal, something like that. Is it William Deal?
deal,
Yeah,
DIEL.
yeah.
So so know that that survives. And in February, I don't have, I mean, you can look it up, but of 2026, that conference will take place online. And I believe it's a modest um, registration fee, I think under $200. So, so that's a good thing. I also wanted to, something that I failed to mention when Ron was there, but here with us. One of the important steps coming ahead is the application of quantum computing in AI. And quantum computing has certain artifacts it can produce, and that is, for example, right now, of course, we're a digital system, zeros and ones, and what quantum can do is 0, 1, and 0 plus 1 at the same time. So it can be on and off at the same time, which enormously expands the memory and computational ability of quantum computers, which means when we can run through quantum using quantum computers, AI that will be, many magnitudes faster than what we can now. So beware of that future. Well, okay, now I let me put up once again for those who are coming now. This is, you've seen it before, but this is the link, that little bit.ly you can go to, I'll quickly address half a dozen articles and from Inside Higher Ed and one from Forbes. Um, so
And
let's,
Ray, by the way, I just put the link in for the book. It's Learning at the Back Door, and the link is there for all of you and the abstract. So from Wedemeyer. Yeah.
when you talk about associations, UPSIA, with whom I under their aegis, I write those columns and do the blogs now. Um, and its focus is professional education, the kind of thing that Wedemeyer really fostered. Um, yeah, okay. So let me see if I can bring up this list and then we can go to um, There we go. Now, um, that's much better than that face. Good. So, transitioning to the agentic university, and I think you're probably aware that we've done a lot of generative AI. Now, you still with me here with the bigger title, transitioning to the agentic university?
Not yet. We just see the list still.
Oh, okay. So this is what if, all right, let me try this. Um, what if, uh, let's see, open link can, no, that doesn't do it either.
Yep.
So to, let me try, because it's opening it in a
I,
sec.
yeah. So what happens in Zoom, if you close out this share and then go back and share your Chrome, we'll see it in Chrome. So you have to stop sharing and then find the Chrome. Or I can open it and try sharing through my system if that doesn't work.
Here I am. Here I am again. Yeah.
So
All
try
right.
sharing and you should be able to do
Talking
it.
through it.
Yeah.
I put it in the discussion board 3 times. So you have the link to those items. And I'll bring this up. Well, I can try window. What if I did window? No, but I can't close Zoom.
I've got it. If you want me, I can show it. Um,
Okay.
let me see here. I don't see the share yet. Hang on.
Oh,
There we go.
it'll be a little
I've
drop
got it.
down.
No, I've got it right here. Hang on.
And then when you
There it
hover
is.
over the link,
Yeah.
it'll be down below. Okay.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. And only you have control, but very good. So here's the situation. I'm looking at this in a university-wide scale. So when you transition, by the way, Kurt, has there been discussion between the difference between generative and agentic?
No, we have not. We have
Oh,
not.
okay.
So yeah.
So to make it relatively simple, generative is of is a transactional kind of process where you ask a question in the form of a prompt, and that prompt then um, appears, uh, and it gives you an answer to your prompt. Now, it's possible to ask it multiple questions so it gives you a longer response in the answer. What happens instead with agentic is it becomes an agent for you. And so it goes through the process of creating tasks that it can do. If you ask a multiple thing, now, good example of what I do is um, twice a week, I do a report on glioblastoma. Probably few of you know what that is, but it's a horrible cancer, brain cancer. 13% survive a year. So it's a very devastating kind of thing. And my
That's what
brother,
Joe Biden's son died of, right?
yes, right. Yeah, that's a good example. And so there are a couple of people in my sphere who have this. And so for them and their families, I have um, Gemini do one and GPT 5.1 do the other. And what they do is they do a very deep, continuous search of new research, of quality of life, and it produces reports on a periodic basis and then emails it to them. So it does all of that kind of automatically, that as an agent. And you can give it um, if you give it logons on your computer, it will search and use your tools. It can use your phone. It can generate language and speak in your voice or in its own voice and move forward. So, as described here, the caveats in a system-wide is how do we implement this equitably at a university? Because it affects every department. It affects the physical plant, the groundskeepers, the library, the science labs, the professors. And that's where there'll be a little, rather, a big battle over having agentic professors. But because people are afraid of losing their jobs. And so um, this will be, as described here, the central strategic challenge for the next 36 months. Universities will be reinvented with robots, that intelligent robots that are using AI. And I'll have some examples as we scroll down here, but they will uh, replace people. So the first step is beginning in January, we need the top leaders. So you need the provost, the CIO, the chief financial officer. Um, Perhaps you need the president. Perhaps you need a chancellor. Those people need to guide this because it involves all of the employees of the universities and all of the activities. As one moves forward, you need to develop a sandbox in which you can do a couple of trial products. And if we can scroll a little bit more, Kurt will see in the second half of 26, here's one pilot, the facilities agent goal to reduce energy and maintenance costs. So the agent creates supervision of these tasks and plans and implements plans to make the whole operation, the kind of day to day. Oh, we got to remove snow. Not for all of you, I know. Some of you are in warmer climes, but here in Illinois, we've got snow removal. We've got to mow the grass. We have to do all of it, maintain the parking lots. And so developing AI to do that. And then one, for example, on improving retention of at-risk students. And so we've handed that out, and it's done currently in an inconsistent way at most universities. Varies by department, in part, and the like. And so we have to confront the questions: who's responsible when something fails, etc. So now when we look ahead through fall, we will have gone through all of the personnel requirements of every employee and determine if that can be done by agentic AI. And that will be revolutionary. In many cases, let's say for some classes, we might have agentic AI serve as a teaching assistant supervised by a master teacher of multiple sections of a class. Those kinds of things will happen, and they'll happen, we believe, because we've seen this happen in industry. Ron had mentioned, and I'll just add a little further to that allegory, which is a one-person billion-dollar business. That is the subject of a bet between Sam Altman and a number of other AI corporate leaders, CEOs, they've each kicked in $1 million. And they're betting on when the first single person, the CEO, will run a billion-dollar startup company. So we're seeing this in business. And what happens is, and I'll use Indiana University and the University of Illinois. well, we're proximate to one another. And the question becomes, if Indiana does this and their tuition drops by 30%, well, what's Illinois going to do? The Illinois students will go to Indiana. And I've seen that before. And so, or the reverse. So that's an important um, process. Sorry for my raspy voice.
Would you
So,
like me to open up any other of the documents?
yeah, hang on a second. What
Yep.
was the other one that you shared? Was it mastery learning?
Yeah, the mastery learning one. Yeah. Should I open
Yeah,
that?
let's look at that.
I'll try and, yep, there's the mastery learning one. Open link. Okay.
And share.
And I have to hit the share. Okay, hang on. Okay, now I go back and share. There it is. Okay, there, is that the one?
That's the one.
Okay.
So, I mentioned this briefly earlier. The point is, I taught for nearly half a century, and I always get a queasy feeling when I gave students D's, F's, even some C's. It just, it made me feel that I failed that student, right? That I had a responsibility to teach that student and I was unsuccessful. What we can do is require that all students achieve 90% knowledge in each module that we teach before that student can move forward. And that's something worth considering in order to ensure that your students um, will perform at the rate, at the ability that the employers expect. And so there's a good example as we move forward. Um, oh, by the way, Benjamin Bloom, some of you have heard Bloom's taxonomy. Yeah, Bloom talked about this. He talked about a one sigma, one standard deviation improvement in learning if we could do this. Well, he called it a problem because back in the 50s, they didn't have AI. And, he couldn't envision this could be done. But if we had a tutor for every student, so he was thinking of human tutors, we could move forward and improve learning by that magnitude. So let's keep moving in. I want to show this one. This would be another link. So, but it would be off of here. So
Is a link within here?
precision right there.
Yeah,
Stop. And
yeah,
it's Precision Learning Companion. It looks like it's going there. Let's see. Yes.
okay.
Eureka. Okay, and so scroll down a little bit, and this will describe it. Now we're seeing the code which we put into the prompt. And then if you can just scroll down slowly to the end, it's about 1,200 words, I think. And this describes how it is to respond to the student and never to give up the answer, but rather use Socratic and other approaches to assist the student, to help the student learn the material. This is the prompt I tried out on Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT just to make sure that it works. And by golly, it really does. It gives you a quiz, and then you get to move forward to the next thing. And I did that in the case of the human eye and looking at parts of the eye, the functions, various maladies, etc. So you can see all of this is kind of chunked in there, but it's generic. So it's also using on the other side of AI, it's it's saying, oh, I want to do um, the star system Andromeda, right? So AI seeks out that, or it seeks out the eye, or the ear, or physiology, or chemistry, or math, or it seeks it's used its ability and knowledge to be able to deliver that. And the instructor can have learning outcomes. So you can say, these are our 5 learning outcomes for 2 or 3 for a module. And this will plug away and quiz every chunk as it moves forward to ensure that the student is succeeding. And it's a tremendous tool that costs nothing. It's right there for you. You can use it now. And and so what you do is cut and paste from roll on down to the end. You just copy that and you paste it into the prompt box on ChatGPT and enter, and then it says, "What would you like to learn today?" And off you go.
Mhm. The
So
ultimate
tremendous,
precision learning companion
right?
and knowledge assessment companion. Yeah.
Yeah, and what it has done, that's something provided by lesser known, but 1.5 million circulation Taft. That there's an AI for that. So the first initials of that. Anyway, that's the source of it. And I list some others, but uh, and they provide these free.
Is there
Um,
another link that you want me to show from your list?
yeah, I think
Or do you want to try?
yeah, no, I think what I'll do is I'll bring up the
What
page and talk through
what
the
about
topics briefly.
the pedagogy one? Or
Um,
or can you bring up the page? I mean, yeah,
I
and
can
talk
why don't I just bring up the page and I can um,
because
describe it. Or,
I've got the pedagogy one ready if you
oh, well, go ahead and bring it up then.
okay. Because that's an important one, I think. To me, I'm a little biased though. But
Yeah. Well, and this is a little earlier development, but it has 3 pedagogies it shares. It's not all of them under the sun, but uh, but it does show you the capability.
okay, there we go. You
Good.
got it, Ray?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So, I talk about budgets broken, we can't afford it. So maybe our intro courses, oh, bless those TAs, but maybe we do it at an even lower cost using AI.
Hmm.
New funding policies will keep going down. There I'm giving the rationale as to why. Um, and here, uh, many technologies available for free. And then I do mention what each of the frontier models are doing, providing to faculty members and learning tools. But as we move forward, here we go. Yes, uh, let's test out one of these technologies right now. One below from Taft newsletter provides online tutor teaches students using an assortment of these pedagogical approaches. So, as described now in this kind of beige box, the prompt turns AI into a dual role system that lets learners choose the most effective study techniques. So in navigator mode, it gathers details about what the user wants to learn and how they prefer to learn it. Then it presents a curated set of 3 to 5 evidence-based methods from its catalog. Each method is explained in depth, strengths, limitations, and you, as the student, can choose one of those or go back and choose another or another. And it will present that material in that pedagogical mode. Um, so, yeah, that's probably commercially supported, but this is not. Um, so when we give it a road test, it's an 1112 word prompt, and it begins with roll, and you cut and paste, such as I said. Gemini replied, "That's a great topic that we had chosen." And I described how going, I was looking, there was a bluegrass festival. That's a kind of music for those from other places. But and so I said, I want to learn about that. And so I was going to it in central Illinois, and then all this goes. I type in, give me these responses, and you can have other methods that you want. Maybe you want lots of questions. Maybe that would be a Socratic method, right? To discuss the topic, and as the Socratic method would ask those questions, or listen to examples, and you can do all of those. So this is trying to present multiple pedagogies to the student, or to you if you're looking at how you might best teach that module or that course. So that's another thing to be aware of. And the other ones that I have, um,
We can send the links to of all of them.
yeah, well, we are. They've got all the links. Put it 3 times in the discussion board. So I hope you just capture that. I
Yep.
can actually do it yet one more time if people
Yeah, if
want
they came
that.
late, they don't see the chat from earlier. That's why it's good to
Yeah.
keep putting
So
them in.
I keep putting it up. That's the 4th time.
Yeah,
So
thank
it's
you.
placed, yeah. And that they can use for it. Um, so
How about we open it up for questions here and see if there are any final
yeah,
questions for
just
tonight?
sure. And I'll share this. Okay. Ask questions, ask away.
I don't know. I'm going to go there, but people feel free to cut me off if you have better questions. Um, I'm. You started your conversation at the beginning, of course, talk about AI, agentic, and all of different things here. But the when you started about talking about quantum computer, uh,
Yes.
it make me wonder because my husband published a paper back then. Oh my god, 2009, about how to be in a quantum physics, how to move particles. And then now, new technology, later, I will share the link here in the chat. They develop a new technology, which is a robot who goes into the bloodstream to kind of like remove blood clot, which is now insane. Like the technology is moving so fast. So wonder because you are an expert and you have way more knowledge than me in different areas, and I wonder, how do you connect quantum physics with, so sorry, let me not ask my question yet. The Nobel Prize that was given recently in quantum physics, this demonstrated that the particle could transfer the wall. Like it could literally, like we saw a movie about it, Bourville. I don't know if you know the French movie. By the way, the Nobel Prize was given by a French person. I'm French.
Yes.
uh, side note. But the point is, quantum physics now is getting so far, and then Google have hired that person to
Yes. Yes.
develop a computer in quantum physics. So I am pretty uneducated about it, and I wanted to know, maybe you have more knowledge about it. Where is going this quantum computer, and how does it impact education? Is it related, not related? Like, what's your vision on it?
Well, certainly Google and IBM are the leaders at the moment in creating quantum computing. Google has Willow, which is the most advanced quantum computer currently. And they gave it one problem that would take a, a supercomputer, a standard supercomputer, 10 to the 23rd power years to answer. And yet it answered in 15 minutes. So it it just demonstrates at the extreme because they selected a problem that would work particularly well on quantum. But it shows that when you have not just zeros and ones, but you have superposition that is 1 and 0 at the same time. So you then have, if you will, 3 bits, 0, 1, and 1 plus 0 at the same time. You can store so much more data and do computing so much more quickly. Then there's another aspect, and that is if your particles, and it's stored commonly on photons, which we think of as light waves, but they're treated as particles in quantum computing. And if you put two of those together, Albert Einstein called it spooky entanglement. Well, people have dropped the spooky part, and it's just entanglement. And what it does is the Chinese have been successful. They took, they entangled two photons, sent one up on a rocket ship 10,000 miles into space, and then they flipped the polarity of the one on Earth, and they had an atomic clock up with that, the one in space, and it flipped not at the speed of light, at the same time. At the same time. Now, that's a key factor that we're going to find quite useful down the line. Also, the suggestion is within 2 years, no encryption will be synced because quantum computing can just massively put billions of try billions of solutions and break it so that to encryption as we know it will not be done unless you do it with a quantum computer. So there are many aspects of quantum computing that are going to change the way in which security and communication and much more.
Yeah, there's a lot of fantasy. Sorry, I know, Alicia, you want to ask a question. There's a lot of fantasy, you know, about quantum computer, capability, about like 1 and 0 being in the same time, appearing at the same time, transportation, uh, visioning the future and different quantum vision. And then especially now, I mean, I'll share the link again in the chat, but there's a new scientist who is right now modeling our human Earth world in the robot ability, where before a cat will go in the water will not be wet, but now the robot is learning if the cat is wet under the water, it can die. And so they are now. Mhm.
That's Schrodinger's
Yeah,
cat instance, right?
yeah. So
Yeah,
then the question there is like, how we are just people in education right now. We are trying to make an impact, but there's so much people with way more money, way more budget, way more ability to see what we don't have, and they do possess those technology way ahead of the game. So do you know, and it's a tricky question that you may not have the answer, but do you think there is like this elite Google or whatever companies who will design something to replicate different solution and basically predict a lot of future, taking advantage for potentially the government or whatever? But like, how do you, I mean, I know you are pessimistic from our previous question, but I am also like you. I can see sometimes that the historically human, I mean, I come from a family of farmers, so like it's pretty pity to see that they have been enslaved for, like, and then they are now suffering. Some of them are still alive.
yeah.
So I can see that how this pessimistic is there in some area. So how do you see that big technology who could, like, what do they want to do, like where is going in your view so far?
Yeah, wonderful question. The challenge is this, as you described, it's, I don't want to get into political systems, but it's the people with money invested, like Google, like IBM, that are able to use these technologies to make more money and more influence. So, can they be convinced to do this for human good? Probably. Part of their work will be for human good. I'm not sure all of it will be. I think that it, along with AI, is those multi-billionaires, nearly trillionaires, are going to be that those some I'm not going to use a pejorative term, almost did. So those people have the ability uh, to make the decisions for the rest of us. Now, I think that there can be significant pressure and profit in their doing positive things. This is, you know, the whole quantum mechanics is a different physics. We talked about general mechanics and Einstein's laws that he put together, were for physical, not subatomic particles. And but he did look at this and he did theorize this kind of entanglement and these kinds of pieces that now we're seeing today. Now, I can't give an answer. It's just there's money and power involved. Those who own it, those who control it, are going to decide what to do with it.
So, for
So
example,
I,
I just
so
last thing, because but I promise I'll be short this time. So one thing is like IBM. I like you mentioned this IBM because I mean, I'm also very I'm not I'm a little bit feminist, and I struggle from power, so I'm pretty opinionated on it. But IBM is developed the first machine of Scantron to at that time it was to numerate the Jew who went to the camp to know they have a number, and the number we're supposed to send them to the gas chamber. But the same
Yeah.
machine later became the scantron for education. So I will agree with you where sometimes big corporations succeed from an area, especially in US, you can see a lot of weapon. And then now another thing I'm wondering is like technology like Bitcoin, which is like kind of like chain, like blockchain and all of those different things where we
Right.
don't even know who the creator is, and the creator of that is earning way more money if. And then the thing is important there in Bitcoin is they build a system of trust
Right.
from an illusion of thinking something that is not trustable but is traceable. So don't know the ID, but we can find the ID it somehow. So it's like how, there's a lot of big puzzle there that it's so complex that I'm feeling like a small fish in the whole tank.
Yeah. It makes me think of Kurt Bonk as the magician, as he appeared on stage. I don't know if you've graced them with that, but maybe before the end of the semester you can do so. That these
I
become,
haven't. No.
yeah, you might think so. I recall seeing, I think it was in Nashville. I saw you first in that, but many decades ago, several decades ago. In any event, yes. So we are not powerful, but you may become powerful if, through knowledge, through through um, moving through these various corporations.
So
So
thanks.
education. I'll just say only
Yeah, yeah,
briefly
yeah.
that quantum will improve and enhance education in the future, but it also will take away even more jobs.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ray. And for those watching the recording who might be thinking this is going to be a class just on practical solutions every week, This week we went a little deeper than normal here. So thanks, Corinne, and thanks to Ray, and thanks to Corinne, and thanks to Garen, and thanks to Arpita. The three of them are students in this class, and all I've made note you've been at all three sections. You're going to get a few bonus points added in. And also Maria, who is here for 2 parts, and Wing, who's here for 2 parts. Thanks to all five of you for staying for past what I promised. I'll let Alicia, as she normally does, ask the last question. And Alicia, you can make the last closing statement here for tonight. So ask your question, and then we'll see what Ray has to say, and then I'll have you do the closing here.
Yeah, I do think we have no question time, but I want to give the final comment from my side. So first, I would like to express my deep gratitude to Dr. Bank for bringing us so many valuable talks throughout this term. And also, I really want to show my sincere thanks to Dr. Schroeder and for sharing us valuable talk perspective with us today. Thank you.
So, Alicia, I'll ask your question if you're not going to ask the question. And Alicia asks, I assume teachers will still play a crucial role with agentic AI in place. Well, what's your thoughts about that, Ray? I know that definitely you've been thinking about. So
They will,
Yeah,
but fewer.
excuse me. I would like to say more about this question because just now you talk about scaffolding. I like these words, scaffolding and Bloom's taxonomy. And
Yes.
according to Bloom's taxonomy, students learn from lower level cognitive level to higher one, from like memory and understanding to creation, innovation. So just now you talk about agentic AI. It seems that it's so popular, so powerful, and it can work like 24 hours, one day, 7 days. So then I'm
Yes.
thinking about what's the role of teachers in nowadays, right? If we have so powerful AI power like tool, so what's your idea of this teachers' contribution in this class?
Well, I think I'm going to point you to the last bullet on that handout. So I'll put that link up one more time, but it is from Forbes last week, and it's Meet the AI Professor, not Professor of AI Professor,
oh yeah.
coming there in. And I think that will give you a kind of a descriptive look at it. Yes.
That's in the Chronicle of Higher Education special issue, which I have right here in front of me.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
AI has joined the faculty.
And we're seeing this.
That's one of them. AI has joined the faculty, and AI is the future of higher education. Is AI is the future of higher ed? Should we shape it? This is full of articles about AI, and the New Yorker, as I had up there earlier, the last few New Yorkers as well, is everywhere.
Yes.
I will say one thing I noticed, Ray, when you mentioned China, you got an immediate thumbs up from Randy, and Alicia was shaking her head yes, and Shufeng was also. We got three people who are originally from mainland China. In fact, Alicia still lives there, and
Yes.
Randy still lives there. Alicia's in Shanghai. I will see her on my birthday, December 16th in Shanghai, and the day before that, actually, and Randy as well before that. So we got a lot of people in China who are concerned about AI in education and its role it's going to play and want to play a significant role themselves and are going to grad school for that or are teaching at different universities about the impact of AI in education. So thank everyone for the view. Thank you, Corinne, for all the great questions, and Arpita for the great questions, and Garen for the great questions. Elliot for the couple thumbs up tonight. My partner in crime, he's here in Bloomington. So thanks to everyone who's attended. This is week 14. Part 3 with Dr. Ray Schroeder from the University of Illinois at Springfield, talking to us about all sorts of things: online learning, blended learning, AI in education, personalized learning, learning analytics, uh, you name it. We've talked about it tonight, quantum mechanics, I guess, and so forth. So
Yes.
we're going to sign off. Ray, you want a final word on the recording?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wait.
Thank you.
Wait.
Okay.
Wait.
Oh, okay.
wait.
Okay.
I want to
Done?
share something with Ray. Ray, do you speak French?
It's still
No,
being
we're
recorded if you want
not-
this recorded.
That's okay. I put a link here. It's a French movie. You can use the English translation, but a guy is named Bourville, and then he talks about quantum physics by them in 1921. The fantasy of going through the wall. It's a beautiful movie.
Okay.
transportation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stops the recording.